Alright guys, I stumbled upon a video today, just out in the wild. I was not searching for topics to cover, I was just watching YouTube, and this came up in my recommended. Which is honestly kind of a weird thing to come up in my recommended, considering who I imagine the target audience of the video is, but regardless, I think it's still a pretty good one, because it is pretty important, or I think pretty relevant, I should say, not important necessarily, to the state of politics and gender relations in this country today. The video is called, it's from a YouTuber, actually, named Furley P. Smaller YouTuber with 6,000 subscribers, but this video, in about 2 weeks, has gone viral with over 100,000 views. It's called Dating Homophobic Guys is Stupid. And I listened to it, like, for a good amount, and I thought the points she makes are pretty darn good, and I'm glad the video is doing very well, because it seems like this kind of idea that cutting off and refusing to give the time of day to guys who refuse to see groups that can't change who they are and aren't hurting anyone by being who they are, as like lesser people or not even human, as like the biggest red flag there could ever be. Like, why are we giving these people the time of day? Why reward them with affirmation, relationships, or God, even sex, which a lot of them are, they just consider that to be the only value women have anyway. So why give them that when that's the kind of people they are? Why reward them for being awful people? Why socially, like, give them the pass for it? And I think this idea catching on is critical to moving the Overton window away from this incel stuff. In a way, the incel stuff is a reaction to feminism. It's a reaction to women putting their foot down and saying they're not going to take it anymore. But to a certain point, I think, let's be real, women's ability to endure the bullshit that men are going to throw at them in retaliation for demanding rights, their ability to endure that is long going to outpace men's ability to deny them those rights. It's just, like, in that respect. Like, that's always going to be the case. And so I think pushing harder is the answer. Sure, the incels might grow in popularity, or even, like, there might be more of a divide between men and women for a time, but eventually it's going to heal. Men are going to have to catch up, or they are going to really fall behind. Women deserve so much better? Well, I mean, like, something I find really interesting, I used to get really, like, cringed out whenever women would say, I hate men, men are trash, or whatever. And I'd be like, not all men, or whatever, even when I was fairly progressive. But the more, like, gay and bisexual dudes that I meet that say, I hate men, it's like, huh. Maybe it's not just misandry. Maybe men just suck. You know, like, I was just like, huh. Alright, there might actually just be a point to that, actually. Like, legitimately, there might just be a point. Okay, so let's check out this video. Dating homophobic guys is stupid. A very true statement. Let's hear what she has to say. Since the video's a little bit long, or at least the video's not long, but my pausing it is going to make it long, I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. Let's watch.
Dating a homophobic man is literally one of the silliest decisions you could ever make in your life. It's so stupid, so dumb. Do not do it. Do not do it. And no, this is not one of those, oh, if he's homophobic, that means he's probably gay on the inside. No. I hate when y'all do that. I freaking hate when y'all do that. Like, I'll act like every single man who's homophobic, oh, it's just because he's just secretly gay. Stop it. Stop it. Literally stop it. That is so problematic.
That is true. Not every homophobic guy is gay. Being homophobic is, for a lot of men, the default. Whether it be overtly so, in some really problematic ways, or just sort of like microaggressions and weird, subtle biases. It's considered the default, and I don't think the, like, copium response of, these guys are just in the closet, is really a good way to handle that. But I will tell you, the homophobes that are closeted gays are the extremely loud anti-gays. The ones who make it their entire identity that they're against gay people seem to have like a 99% rate of being gay in the end. Like your Nick Fuentes is, that one Who remembers when that one, like, extremely popular anti-gay faith preacher or whatever had a video come out of him just, like, receiving the deep dicking, like, on video from another guy? Like, the loud public figures that make their entire brand hating gay people, they're the ones who tend to be closeted gays. Like, very often that ends up being the case. But the normal people out there that are not, like, big, popular public figures, their default position, it tends to just be, like, kind of homophobic. It tends to be, like, vaguely to overtly homophobic.
Problematic. Stop being that way. You're weird. You're weird. Stop. I'm going to continue yelling at you, but before I continue, I want to introduce myself. Hi, guys. Welcome and welcome back to the channel of the girl who yaps, amongst other things. And for today's video, I'm going to be yapping about homophobic boyfriends. I don't think you guys understand how much you're shooting yourself in the foot by not making sure that the man you're dating is not homophobic. Like, it's such a bad decision. It is so, like, dude, like, it's not even one of those things where it's like, oh, like, wait until he tells you he's homophobic. Like, literally, I would definitely highly advise you to test this person to make sure they see gay people as human beings. Not any kind of gay people. Gay men. And trans women, because a lot of times they'll be very, like, chill about, like, lesbians and, like, women who like women, because it's like, ooh, because girls like girls.
All right, ladies that watch my content, everything she's saying is right, and I hope she watches this video. You guys should link, like, when this video goes out, you should find this video that we're reacting to and send my video. I would like to see like, if she likes my coverage of this video. My advice as a guy, to try to figure out if a guy is homophobic. A lot of guys are gamers or have tangential interest in video games and things that are, like, properties of video games. So I recommend you get them to watch The Last of Us show. And then I think it's like the second or third episode, you get the Bill episode. And that episode is literally, like, one of the most beautiful pieces of media ever made. And yes, it focuses heavily on the development of a gay relationship, and there is even a not very explicit but still gay sex scene in the episode between two men. Have him watch that and see his reaction. If he's, like, anything beyond, like, the normal level of just, like, there's a sex scene or whatever, like, that's a pretty good sign. Like, if they get mad about that, if it's something that bothers them beyond what, like, a straight sex scene would have, then that's a pretty good litmus test, I think. Like, if they get mad or, like, irrationally, like, don't like that episode, it's a really good tell. I feel like that is unironically a top-tier litmus test. Yeah, she's parked. She's not driving. She's completely parked. She hasn't moved the car at all.
Where I'm from, because they, like, sexualize it. They're like, oh yeah, like, you're not like a girl who likes girls, you're a girl who likes girls for my own amusement, so that I can fantasize about me doing things to you guys, or I can fantasize about you guys doing things to each other. Like, they'll see, like, lesbians, they'll be like, whatever, but when they see a gay man, that is when you see what kind of person that person is. Like, when they see a gay man, when they see a trans woman, that's when you see the level of humanity a guy has inside of him, you know? So I'm making this video kind of, like, as a warning for girls, because I feel like there are certain situations that can be very avoidable. Like, there are, like, really bad situations you can get into that if you just clock that
all right, like, the fact is, when it comes to trans women with straight guys, it's actually different than the reaction they have with, like, seeing gay dudes showing affection towards each other. But it's similar. Let's see. Who's, like, I don't know. Can anyone think of, like, a popular, like, pretty trans woman, I guess? Like, just an example for the sake of like, the point about how, like, a lot of men react to that kind of thing and how they... Samantha Lux, Philosophy Tube. You don't have to give YouTuber examples. Blair White. Why would you give Blair White? What's the table behind you? My future new desk. Regardless, just imagine a pretty trans woman in your head, okay? Most straight men will see said pretty trans woman, and they will find her attractive. Especially if they, like, Finster's a good example, yeah. Like, a lot of people will see Finster, like, in a thumbnail and be like, oh, that's a pretty girl. Find out Finster is trans, And there's a whole thing that happens there for a lot of guys online. From what I've heard, it's been like a big meme. It's pretty funny to me. But for a lot of guys, they'll be attracted to a trans woman because what they see is a woman. Like, undeniably, that is a woman, an attractive woman. But in their head, they cannot untangle the idea of that trans woman having once been a man, quote unquote. And they think that there is there's this vibe of there being like an inherent vibe of still being male to trans women, that being attracted to them, even if what you're attracted to about them is overtly, objectively feminine, is shameful, as if you've you've been tricked into being gay. Like, that's how they view it. Like, you have been tricked into being gay. That a male has presented so well as a beautiful woman that you as a straight man have been tricked into being attracted to a quote-unquote male. That is how a lot of guys view it. And so if that is how those guys think, it is actually a pretty big red flag. Especially if they get angry in response to that kind of thing, it's a massive red flag. Dudes who think like that and act like that are typically not safe to be around and not safe to be in a relationship with. I showed Finster to my uncle. He said that she was sexy. Then I said Finster was born a man and he freaked out. It was funny as fuck. Yeah, well, there you go. That's an example.
Man is homophobic and get out while you can, you can avoid so much crap. You can avoid so much crap, right? But one thing that I really hate about like having this conversation, though, like I know it's an important conversation to have, but I hate that like with people, with society, with like humanity, I have to tell you how dating a homophobic man can hurt you rather than like, well, dating a homophobic man means you're dating a person who literally doesn't believe in the human rights of other people because of their sexual orientation. Like, why would you want to be with someone that evil? Like, I feel like for that should be enough of a reason for you not to want to be with someone, you know? Like, so I mean, like, hello, like that. I feel like that's a good enough reason to be like, ew, like, to me, that's a turn off. To me,
like, I think it should be. To be fair, women are not monolithic. They're all individuals. And like any group of individuals, there's a lot of, like, just trashy people who are women who vary from, like, being enablers of bad behavior to being attracted to and appreciating that kind of bad behavior. And there are people who are completely, like, there are women out there that'll just, like, they don't care. Like, they have no interest in politics, and they don't care what their boyfriend or husband believes politically and will just vote for whoever he tells them to because that's, quote-unquote, their duty, right? Like, that's what they think. So, unfortunately, a sizable proportion of women in America are still kind of, like, brainwashed into that kind of, God, I can't believe it's blanking on me. Like, they're brainwashed into being these, like, housewives, future housewives or current housewives, and they don't really think for themselves much. And so, I don't know, a lot of women are willing to enable this type of behavior, and that's why a lot of these guys continue to behave this way, because it's not a deal breaker when it comes to relationships to be such a piece of shit. And that, I think, is a pretty big problem. I hope that begins to change. I hope Trump getting elected begins to change that significantly, because I think that is a sign from a substantial amount of men to women who did not want this outcome, who wanted to be able to retain their right to choose. A pretty big sign that these men did not care about their bodily autonomy or their rights. And I think that, I hope that is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
You not believing in human rights of another human being because of the fact that they're of another sexual orientation, I'm already like disgusting, wouldn't touch you, wouldn't kiss you, would not want to be anywhere near you. It's disgusting, you know? And it reminds me of like, when things happen to girls, and in order to make men care, they're like, well, what if it was your girlfriend? What if it was your mom? What if it was your daughter? What if it was your niece? And I'm like, it's so gross that I have to be like, what if this
because it's men, a lot of men never really develop that ability to see women as people rather than either A, an object, B, an obstacle to overcome / like conquer, I guess would be the right word, or a trophy to achieve. Like, those are the three ways that those types of men will never still think if they don't grow up and grow to see women as people. And when you don't see women as people, and what I mean by that is when you see a guy, if you're like a straight guy and you see a guy and his name is Brian, you look at him and you think, that's Brian. He likes chopping wood and throwing axes and swimming. Like, those are the things that you associate with your fellow straight, I guess in this case, white guy, I suppose, in my case. You don't really think about, like, his identity or anything. But for a lot of men, woman is a category or descriptor pretty high up on that list. Before, like, any features or things that they like or ways that they behave, for a lot of men, one of the foremost things they associate with women is that they are a woman. With a guy, the fact they're a guy doesn't even really get thought about much, but even with any woman, guys tend to constantly be thinking about the fact that they're interacting with women, and that naturally changes how they speak with them, how they see them, how they treat them, and there are a lot of ways in which that doesn't go so well for them. Or I honestly should say it shouldn't go well for them, because in some cases it still does.
Person was connected to you. Yes, okay, now that you've pictured you being affected, can you extend some of your humanity towards this other individual? That is so gross. That is so messed up. And I know this is not what this video is about, but I'm just saying, I just hate that people have to do that anyway, that people have to tell you this is how it's going to affect you for you to care. Like, you should just care about the fact that someone's getting hurt and be like, I don't want people to get hurt, and I don't want people who are bullies or people who are disgusting or people who treat people like shit to be around me. But if you need more, I got you. So the reason that I say it is literally not even just like bad, it's high-key like a little, it's even sometimes a little dangerous and stuff to be with a guy who's like super homophobic or super transphobic to trans women especially, right? Because like, if you think about how boys were raised, a lot of them, like, look at like little boys and you're
Listen, if he's willing to hit a trans woman, he's willing to hit a cis woman. It's not a very large leap. Not at all. It's basically like you're basically there already. You're there. Like, if they'll hit a trans woman, they'll hit a cis woman.
Your life and see how their parents talk to them. There's a very big thing where they will teach these little boys, so they'll be like, hey, don't do that. That's for girls, or that's gay. Don't listen to that. That's for girls, or that's gay. Are you crying? That's what bitches do. That's for girls. That's what gay... I almost said the N-word, sorry. But that's what gay men do. You know what I mean? Like, they're constantly, like, they'll be like, oh, you can't play with that toy. That's for girls. That's gay. So ever since boys have been very, very young, people have been ingraining into their minds how bad it is and how disgusting it is to do things that are considered girly or that are considered feminine or whatever, right? And so if you are dating someone or if you are letting a guy into your life who has...
This is true. Even if you have a supportive household that wouldn't shame you for that kind of thing, it's still socially shamed to the extent that, like, boys and men self-impose that kind of expectation on themselves. I think a lot of people underestimate just how much of the toxic expectations of society are more self-imposed than they are externally imposed. You're taught at a young age, and your expectations for yourself are molded a certain way at a young age. They solidify before you get old enough to challenge them, and you don't even think about challenging them, and that's the way you see things. That's the way you think things should be.
That kind of mindset, 99.9% of the time, he is also going to be a misogynist. Also, he is going to view things that are feminine as beneath him, as lower, as something that he just should not do and he should avoid at all. Like, because it went from like adults and other people conditioning those boys that like, you can't cry, you can't play with a certain toy, you can't wear a certain color because that makes you girly or that makes you gay. They were like beat and like taught that from adults. And then when they got to school, other little boys were doing the same thing to them. They were also teaching them like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's so gay. Yep. Are you giving me a hug? I don't even know. But like, oh, a hug? That's so gay, whatever. They would literally bully other boys for doing certain things. So if another boy was feeling like, oh, I can cry or I can express myself or I can wear a certain kind of like clothing or whatever, and they didn't feel shame, when they were putting it on before, like if their parents didn't traumatize them and make them feel that way, when they went to school, you should best believe they were about to get that beat out of them. They are taught, they have been taught for so long to see things that are feminine as beneath them and as disgusting and as something that you should just completely avoid because you don't want to get judged, you don't want to seem gay, and if you do seem gay, that is the worst, most disgusting thing you could ever possibly be. Pay attention to like the whole Diddy situation. The Diddy situation made me so like, oh my god, like, it's one of those things that have me like, I think someone was saying like there are some black people who are like post-plantation, pre-education, and that I'm like, yes, literally that showed me that exactly, because Diddy is someone who got arrested and who is being accused of doing so many horrific things to children, to minors, and just like, you know what I mean, like,
I think I know what point she's about to make, and if so, it's a really good one.
Assault, putting things in people's drinks, doing all these horrible things, and so many people heard these cases and they were like, wow, that's gross, wow, that's crazy, and it wasn't until people were like, oh, and also he likes it in the butt. That is when people were like, oh my god, are you insane?
Exactly. That's what I thought she was gonna say. People have this weird thing where they will not actually cancel someone like they would anyone else until you are a perfect target. And Diddy didn't become a perfect target until people found out that he was gay. That's when all of a sudden the critical mass of people necessary had decided they're dropping him. Yeah, no, why you paused it right there? I'm sorry. Bad pause screen. Bad timing.
What? They heard he has harmed girls. They heard he has kidnapped. They heard he has assaulted. They heard all these things, and they were like, yeah, that's tough. That's life. Man, people are really bad or whatever. But the second they were like, wait, is he a homosexual?
Huh? Are you homosexual? A what? I'm homosexual.
The second they heard that, they were like, oh, hell no, that is disgusting. Oh my god.
And they dropped him. He became the right target. Same thing happened with Ava Tyson and Mr. Beast. Ava Tyson became the right target once she came out as trans, and something that was always known and public and could have been a big drama years and years and anytime years before didn't become a thing until a month or so after she came out as trans and half the internet lost their shit.
Oh, gross. The level of disgust that people had for him for doing things that were gay was much worse than the level of the disgust they had for him for doing things that harmed women. That was much worse than the level of disgust they had for doing things that harmed children. Like, they were like much more disgusted by the gay thing. You should be so disgusted with yourself. Ew, bro. Gay things?
Disgusting!
It's so ingrained into the minds of guys how disgusted they should be with anyone who is feminine or anyone who is gay that like they get older and you just kind of see why they're the way they are. Like, see how like why.
She corrected herself here. Unnecessarily, I think.
It's so ingrained into the minds of guys how disgusted they should.
Misogynistic and homophobic guys, asterisk. I don't think that's a necessary correction because it doesn't matter if you're homophobic or misogynistic. Those ideas are still ingrained in you. To not be, like, even if you aren't, you probably still have biases that you have to actively be cognizant of, right? Like, I'm not homophobic, but I certainly will say that I get more uncomfortable watching a guy-on-guy gay sex scene in a movie than if it was, like, a straight sex scene in a movie. And certainly if it was, like, a lesbian sex scene in a movie. And I think that's probably because of internalized biases. And that, like, no one who is raised in this fucked up homophobic and bigoted society is free of those biases. Expectations of like the capabilities and the personalities and preferences of women that get ingrained in you at a young age. You might even know logically that certain things that you've been taught are true or bad, but then like internally you thought them for so long that you can't help but have those ideas inform your instincts, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm just yapping a bit, but I feel like this is an unnecessary correction. Every guy, at least in America, has these misogynistic and homophobic ideas ingrained in them one way or another, even if it's not, like, even if they grow up in a good, progressive, respectful household, the rest of the world will ingrain that stuff in you. You will be subjected to those expectations, and you will be exposed to those ideas.
should be with anyone who is feminine or anyone who is gay, that like they get older, and if they get older and you just kind of see why they're the way they are, like let's see how like why they are so extremely mean, like extremely mean, extremely disgusting toward anyone who's gay. The amount of times I've heard jokes from straight guys about literally ending the lives of trans women, it's genuinely depressing, because I'm like, these people are literally,
If they would kill a trans woman, then they would kill a cis woman. It's a fucking blinking flag with alarms on it. It's not even a red flag anymore. It's a burning flag, dude.
literally just existing. Like they're not doing anything. They're just like, I'm existing in my own skin, and I'm not hiding anymore the fact that I'm gay or the fact that I'm trans. I feel very full and safe and comfortable being this way. And they're like, oh, we must do something about it. And it's like, oh my God, like you're just, be normal, be sane. That's just another human being. Like, treat them how you would want to be treated. Like, if you were gay, would you want people to treat you like that? And like, the lack of empathy is so I'm not going there. I'm not going.
Like, she is completely spot on. A big part of why I wanted to cover this video is because I was surprised to find just this random 6,000 sub video from someone who is clearly, like, they've figured a lot of shit out insofar as what's going on in the world of politics and this, like, whole culture war, social debate on the internet thing that's going on. She is on the fucking money with her commentary here. It's the lack of empathy. It's core to this entire issue. So many young guys who are in their late teens, and as much as, like, they're not, like, part of the dating pool that's likely the target of this video, young teens, like young teen males, kind of form a lot of the culture of the internet in a lot of ways, particularly like the meme culture. And that meme culture kind of drifts upwards and kind of affects everybody's ideas and everybody's behaviors online. And everyone who's young is online now, right? I think it's like 85 or something % of like Gen Z gets their news from the internet. It's like, yeah, everyone's online. And so the lack of empathy, I've noticed, is like core to all of this. So many young guys, evidently, based on their actions and how they behave, don't have empathy. Like, they don't feel bad at all internally when they see something bad happen to an innocent person. Not in the slightest. They sometimes even take glee in bad things happening to innocent people. And I'll admit that when I was like a young little shit, like 14-year-old, I was definitely like that. But as I got older, I developed empathy. I learned what that meant as I got older. And it's hard to take any joy from a video of an innocent person getting hurt just trying to have a good time. Like, I don't know, like they're walking down the street and something falls on them out of nowhere. It's like, well, that's not funny. That could happen to me. That could happen to anyone. Like, that's like, oh my God, I wonder how bad their medical, but like all these thoughts and you just feel bad for them. That's empathy. And you have to develop it. It's partially brain development. And in many ways, it's learned through experience. And so many of these guys not only lack empathy, but they lack empathy proudly. And they denigrate and attack and demean those that have empathy. People in chat are asking for a link to the video. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot to put a link to the video in chat, so I'll go ahead and drop it in both right now if anybody wants to go drop a like and a sub and a comment on the original channel and video. There you go, guys.
But how does that affect you?
You should leave a comment that says, I don't know, came from Zan or something. Make me look good.
How does that affect you as a woman who is just trying to date a straight guy or whatever? Like, why does it affect you that he's extremely mean and disgusting towards gay people? One, it should disgust you because he's a bad person, but that doesn't disgust you enough. He's most likely going to be extremely misogynistic. Like, if you're his girl, you're his woman, and you get like upset with him or like you disagree with him in public or whatever, he's the type of person that is going to get so irrationally angry because of that. Like, I'm the man. I'm the man. What's wrong with you? I'm the man. Like, you're not. They're so like determined to prove to other people and themselves that they're a man. They're not. They're the type to be so obsessed with maintaining power over women. And I feel like I shouldn't have to tell you how dangerous that is to be with a guy who is obsessed with just being powerful over you. You respect me. I'm the man. I'm the man. Like, the second they like have that kind of thing, like, girl, those kinds of The level of violence guys like that are capable of.
You gotta be careful, dude. Or I guess dudettes. You gotta be careful. One of the biggest red flags is just having conservative, bigoted ideas or worldviews. It is a clear sign of a lack of empathy, or at least a clear sign of a large presence of ignorance. Both can be extremely dangerous and are a sign of a person who doesn't desire to improve themselves. They don't want to learn. They can't help but hate. They can't bring anything but hate into your life. Don't let people like that into your life.
The level of just like horrible treatment that they will give you as a woman, like it is like, it can genuinely be very, 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 very scary, very, very, very dangerous for you. Like I am being so honest with you. When I think like of the guys who are like scarily misogynistic in my life, like guys who are like the way how misogynistic they are, it's kind of like, I'm dead ass scared to be around you when you're angry type of misogynistic. Those guys will be the most homophobic people you will ever meet. Like, I swear to you, gay men just stay on their minds. Like, I can think of one right now. Whoever, like, he'll be talking about like a certain area. Like, we live in Miami. He'll talk about certain areas in Miami and be like, oh, that area is so disgusting because there's always like gay people there. And I'm like, is it that serious? Like, I'm like, why do you care so much? Is it that serious? He's also the kind of guy that gets like so angry as a woman who like is just like whatever. He's the kind of guy that will watch Kevin Samuels and like the Fresh and Fit podcast unironically, not to make fun of them, but to be like, no, it's really deep. No, what they're saying is deep. It's deep. I feel.
Do you, like, think about it like this. Do you want to marry a guy like that? And then in like 20 to 30 years be that like wife of the guy who's like in a literal wife beater, who just constantly degrades you, doesn't give a fuck about you. There's certainly no active sex life. He probably cheats on you and like maybe even beats you, doesn't do anything for you or take you on dates or really express any care for you. Like you know that like stereotypical awful husband kind of like, that is what those guys are like when they're young. When those dudes who are like middle-aged loser husbands were in their 20s and their late teens, they were like these guys. Do not tie yourself to that. Do not sign up to be the wife in that stereotypical awful marriage, okay? I promise you, that is where you will end up if you do not acknowledge these red flags and steer clear.
Feel it in my soul. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's like, bro, what? Like, that level of hatred they have for gay men and trans women will also show itself in the way they view women, how they treat you. Like, if you go to them, you talk about women things, you talk about makeup, you talk about fashion, you talk about whatever, they will talk to you as if it's something that's so worthless, so stupid. Like, see, females, that's the word. Females are so stupid. They will talk so much and have a lot to say. Like they're the kind of guy that people, like, you tell them, like, hey, can you hold my purse or whatever? Their masculinity will be so fragile. They'll be like, oh, because they don't want anybody to catch them holding the purse, because what if that person thinks that they're gay? That's the worst thing you could ever possibly be considered. If someone thinks they're gay, that's the worst thing.
Something that I've found, it's like actually so rare for guys to not get like weird when talking about things that are considered feminine, that when you talk to a woman about fashion, makeup, like nails, hair, any of those things, or like even just beauty products and like, I don't know how expensive they are, just like what kinds there are. If you talk to a woman about those topics as a straight guy, they will immediately be interested in talking with you for an extended period of time. Because there is an actual substantial novelty for a lot of women in meeting a guy who's like let's say there's two girls that are saying like, oh, I just bought these new acrylic nails, and a guy's like, oh, what brand are they? Oh, I heard those are good ones. Were they too expensive? Did you get a good deal? Like, that girl's gonna want to talk to you for hours, bro. Like, you'll be in, dude. That is how much of a novelty it is to just meet a guy who is confident enough in his sexuality and lacking in that insecurity that they're willing to talk about something of mutual, or not even of mutual interest, but non-mutual interest. It is a massive point of attraction. I've seen that work 100 billion times. It has 100% success rate.
I think you are. Like, so they'll be holding the purse like this. They'll be like holding the purse like this. Oh my god, I've seen guys get so mad over the stupidest things. Like, it'll be like, oh, a girl put like a little crown on his head. It'll be like, oh my god, you look like a little princess. And they'll be like, man, I'm a man. I don't wear that shit. Oh man. Fuck, man, I'm a man. Take that woman hat off of me. Take it off. And they'll get so irrationally angry about seeing anything.
It's like, it's beyond irrational, too. It's beyond irrational, too. My ex-girlfriend put me in bunny ears during one of my streams. Pink, fluffy bunny ears. And I wore them the whole stream. I have never received so many thirst comments from women. Never in my life have I received so many thirst comments from women. If I had put on a maid outfit and thigh highs, it'd be over. When I say that dudes are irrational about the being afraid of dressing feminine or being into feminine things, it's like it's gone so far beyond irrational. It's downright self-destructive, dude. It's downright self-destructive.
Feminine. And if you think that anger, if you think that hatred, if you think that vitriol is only going to affect gay men and not you, you're really cute. You're really cute, babe. You're really adorable. So yeah, whenever like a guy makes it seem like if someone thinks that you're gay or someone assumes that you're gay, that is the most disgusting thing that they can think that you are. I'm already peeping. I'm already just kind of like, oh, you're one of them. Like, I'm already like looking at them. I'm already judging because I'm like, ew, like you're one of them. Like, I want nothing to do with people like that. Like, oh, that's so gross. Like, it's so not like, oh, and then they'll be so immature. Like, their masculinity will be literally hanging by a thread. Like me, I'm a woman who's secure in my femininity. Like, I know I'm a woman and I know that I'm straight, right? So if someone came up to me and they were like, hey, you're gay, I'd be like, no, I'm not. And if they were like, no, I think you are, I'd be like, I'm not though. And if they're like, but you are, I'd be like, okay. And I would just move on with my life. And I really wouldn't care that much. It really wouldn't affect me because I know that I'm straight and I'm not terrified at the idea that someone might think that I'm gay. I'm like, I'm not. Like, you know what I mean? But that's like a normal way to react to things like that. Like to be like, I don't really care. Like if I wear a certain type of clothing or I start listening to a certain kind of music or something like that and someone's just like, wow, that's a very like man-like thing for you to do, I would be like, okay, like I wouldn't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're thinking about yourself, you're probably thinking like if someone were to think that something that I do is something that a lot of men do, you probably wouldn't care because you're a freaking normal person. You don't think that wearing something that men wear is disgusting inherently and you don't whatever. But when a guy is just so like, oh god, I can't imagine like somebody thinking that I'm gay if I wear this or if I talk like this or if I cry or if I do this or if I listen to this kind of music or whatever. Like the amount of guys I'll see who will be like, oh, I can't listen to women. Like they'll literally be like, they won't listen to any women singers at all. Like because no, that's just way too gay. Like the masculinity is so fragile. Like literally just blow.
You are gay. You are a transgend.
It's like, it goes in so many different directions. It's like music, it's media, it's like all these things too. But I do want to say, as much as it kind of diverges from the topic of the video, but I guess it kind of technically has a relation. It's not just dudes who enforce these ideas. There are homophobic women out there. There are a decent amount of homophobic women out there. And not all of them are like overtly like hatefully homophobic. But how many times have you heard stories? At least I've heard many. And they are stories after all. I don't know how common this actually is. Like, many of these could have been made up, full disclosure. But how many times have you heard stories of like when a guy does reject like a quote unquote nice girl, a fairly common response is, what, are you gay? As if to like manipulate the guy into like a psychological trick into getting the guy to like reverse to a yes out of fear of the assumption being, if you don't like this girl, then you must be gay. And that, I think, A, demonstrates that some women are willing to play into and enforce men's idea that being seen as gay is bad and that being gay is bad, but it's also a sign that like men are so reliably afraid of being perceived as gay, which is of course a sign that there is like a perception of it being bad somewhere buried in their psychology, that like a woman could reliably use that as a psychological strategy to get a guy to do something. Like, what are you, gay? You must be gay if you don't want to do that. Because like that's apparently a pretty common thing. Because guys are that insecure that you can just manipulate a fair amount of guys by just challenging their heterosexuality on the grounds of their not doing what you want them to do.
I can't eat a banana in public because it's gay. I can't hug my friend because it's gay. I can't wear a pink shirt because it's gay. Like, it's literally just like, oh my god. be normal. Like, it's so weird. But yeah, like, that's how they'll be. Like, I genuinely know that if someone were to think that I'm of a certain sexual orientation and I know I'm not, it's not going to affect me. But guys who are so disgusted at the idea that someone might assume or someone might think or whatever, like, they are the kind of people who look at gay people as if they're like inferior. And a lot of times that they're looking at gay people like they're inferior, they're also going to be looking at you as a woman as if you are inferior as well. And if you don't believe me, go and find a guy who you know is extremely homophobic and watch. He will be extremely misogynistic as well. It'll be very, very hard for you to find a guy who's super homophobic who's just like, no, but I respect women. No, I do. Like, I respect women and I don't like, no. That is not a thing. It's just not a thing that happens. I'm so sorry. It's just because the same place that disrespect for
if it's so rare that it's not worth considering. Her point here is just on the spot. And I hope that more, like, this idea starts to spread throughout the like social media spaces that women tend to frequent. I really do. Like, stop giving homophobic guys not even the time of day. Don't date them, don't go out with them, don't entertain, like, being friends with them. They're just not good people.
Women comes from is the same place that hatred for gay people comes from. It's the same place that hatred for gay men and trans women comes from. So yeah. Another reason why I also like to make sure that a guy is like not homophobic as well is because, like, I don't like guys who are too like obsessed with trying to prove that they're masculine. Like, a guy who's just like very secure in their masculinity, I love that. So when I see a straight guy who can have a gay friend and be like, I'm chilling or whatever, I'm like, hot. I'm like, that's attractive, because there are a lot of guys who are not secure in their masculinity. And so when a guy is just like, I don't care what you say, like, I know I'm straight, I'm like, so here's my number. Like, I'm like, okay, you're already attractive.
The real way to prove it, though, is to have, like, passionate gay sex with your homies. You can't know that you're straight until you've had passionate gay sex with your homies, all of them, and then you know that you're secure in your sexuality. Everyone's straight. You know, no one hears. You all know. You know, everyone's on the same page. No, in all seriousness, though, I have a hard time trying to figure out if the kiss your homies memes are like a sign of progress or a sign of cope, right? I almost feel like the kiss your homies memes are almost like a way for guys to express their care for their friends in a way that's so overtly ironic that they can get the idea across that they care about their buddies, but not get too serious and sincere with their expression of affection. Like, if they said, you know, real talk here, man, I love you, buddy. Like, I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't hang out with you every day. Like, that can be an awkward thing for guys to say to each other. So instead, a guy might say to their guy friend, like, oh, man, when I see you again, oh, man, I'm gonna be all over that dick. Like, some shit like that, you know? It feels like it's a sort of irony copium way for guys to jokingly express that they care about their buddies. Just dialing it up to 11 on the gay scale to make it so ironic it must be a joke, but both parties understand that they're expressing, like, actual affection of some kind. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if it's, like, progress or what. Kiss your homies is both sincere and cope. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely partially sincere, but I don't know if it's more sincere than it is cope, if it's progress for guys, that they are finding ways to express affection for their friends. Like, if you're just a straight guy in chat right now, how often do you say to your, like, straight buddies, hey, guys, I really care about all y'all, and if something happened to you, I'd be really, really upset, and I'm just happy I'm here with, like, how often do you express that? Like, maybe you do, but it's not all that common among dudes who are friends. It's gotten more common as time goes by, but it's still a problem.
Just oh god, that is such, oh wow, that bar is low. That is a low ass bar. That bar is low as hell. But yeah, I don't know. I love guys who are like very secure in their masculinity and who are like very respectful of gay people and trans people or whatever. Because I'm just like, good, because that's showing me that you're probably respectful of me as well, and I see that as a good sign.
It's a good green flag. I'm curious to see what the comments are on this video. What's the general response? I would assume pretty positive, right? Misogyny and homophobia go hand in hand with each other. You can't separate them. When my best friend starts hating me because I don't like her horrible homophobic boyfriend that has treated me terribly. Ooh, yes, I love this comment. I have seen this so many times. Usually, though, from my position, I've had trans friends who have had friends of like many years, longtime friends who are pro-trans and very respectful of their trans identity, but then they'll start dating a guy. And hypers in chat, if you have had a friend tell you, in regards to their homophobic or transphobic boyfriend, yeah, I know he misgenders you or sometimes calls you slurs, but he's actually a really nice guy when you get to know him. And I really love and care about him. And, you know, love matters more than politics and personal beliefs. How many times have you heard this excuse making and enabling if you're like LGBT in chat? I've heard stories of this many times. Had that happen to me, but with a racist guy. All the fucking time. All the time. Human rights aren't politics. Well, yeah, but that's what the point is they don't understand that. They'll just say, but he's a nice guy. Politics shouldn't matter. Yeah. I never heard that because asexuality is ignored. That's true, yeah. Asexuality isn't usually a target in a lot of these conversations. Same here, but with homophobia. My mom is like this about her husband. Yeah. That shit is so fucking common. The enablers. The enablers. The enablers are really like the foundation of all of this, okay? Like, if dudes actually were romantically fucked, if they acted this way, like truly screwed, like marooned in a desert, then they would change for the better. They would have to. They would have to. But there are those out there that enable this behavior. Anyway, I really liked this video. Like I said, it was from Furley P. I'll drop another link to the video in the chat. And go ahead and comment down below when this goes out on YouTube if I forget to include it in the description. And I'll pin a comment. But yeah, everyone go leave a like and a comment and a sub on the original video. Good stuff. I dropped a like and a sub as well. Pretty darn based. Anyway, everyone, if you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable, then please consider leaving a like and a comment. Thumbs up and comments are the best way to support my channel. In fact, every single one, especially in combination, both of them, boosts my channel substantially in the algorithm and forces YouTube to push my stuff out to new people. It is the best way to support me, so I really appreciate it. And of course, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications if you haven't already, so that YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos. And of course, if you haven't already, follow my social medias linked down below in the description, including my Blue Sky, and of course join my fan Discord in order to be a part of the main pillar of my fan base. I, of course, host gaming events, call-in streams, and watch parties there once a week on Fridays, so I hope to see you at those too. And I announce all my new uploads and streams there, so you won't miss anything. Make sure you join. And of course, finally, if you feel like it, you can afford it, and you want to, consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or buying merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Doing so helps me to keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall Studios, so I really appreciate it. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you all so much for watching as always, and have a good one.